Oh, I think the future of testing is cloudy. In fact, we just had a Google Test Automation conference, and that was our theme, cloudy with a chance of tests. So it means two things. It means that a lot of the testing that's going to be going on in the future is going to be in the cloud. Test cases in the cloud, access to people who are remote but accessible through the cloud, test assets in the cloud. And the other part of the meaning to that is that testing itself is cloudy. The use of testers, the need for dedicated functional testers, I don't think has ever been lower in the history of test. And so I think a lot of the traditional testing that we've been doing over the decades is going away because it's so easily accessible through either automation or through crowdsourced testers, beta testers, users who are participating in tests. And so I think that a lot of the test talent is moving toward more specialized area, security, privacy, accessibility, internationalization, things like that. So I think there's a lot of flux in this field, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the next few, I think, months, not years. Nothing. I've never done anything useful. I think probably my biggest claim to fame is my ability to make other people good. I think the people around me are just exquisitely talented, and if I've had something to do with that, I would consider that my biggest accomplishment. Every time I look around and see someone who I mentored ascend to some lofty director or vice president's position, I smile. The secret to my success, it's hard to say. Certainly wasn't education. I got a PhD, never used it. It certainly wasn't a scintillating intellect, because I work with lots of people who are way smarter than me. Perhaps it's a bit of my personality, my ability to write and speak and be passionate. But I think the ability to write, not just the books and the articles, but being able to write really convincing emails to bosses, being able to influence other people through writing and speaking and getting them, to be more passionate about their work, to implement my ideas, has really brought the power of all of my colleagues to bear on my success and their success as well. Well, the new book is called How Google Tests Software, and so the inspiration was really to write down a lot of the successes that we've had at Google. I think Google has a much more mature testing organization than probably almost anyone. In fact, I think really at the top of the testing food chain, Microsoft and Google probably stand alone. And there's a lot of magic in what Google does. We've automated a lot of things that people have really struggled with and failed to automate over the years. And they're completely automated at Google. I mean, totally hands-free, no humans involved. And I think that the inspiration is to help other companies do that. As more and more companies implement their software for mobile consumption and for consumption over the web, they are going to need the types of testing technologies that Google has mastered. And so that was the idea, to get the word out, and hopefully, it won't just be Google software that's getting better, it'll be all web software and all mobile software getting better. Wow. Well, my PhD advisors, I was lucky enough to have 3 of them, certainly deserve a lot of the credit. But I think the industry at large, just the circumstances of the time in which I worked, has really done it, right? This is just a great field. And this field just makes you think all the time. I thought I had it all figured out in the desktop era, and then the desktop era went away. I thought I had it all figured out in the cloud era, or the web era, and now the web is going away, right? It's being replaced by mobile and cloud as a combination. So I think the secret to my success has been, this just constant change and being able to adapt to it and kind of get out ahead of it. Well, they're both great companies. I mean, I didn't leave Microsoft because I was unhappy in any way. In fact, it was a great, really couple of decades of my life, counting all the consulting I did there. Both of the companies take testing really seriously and treat testers really well. And I think that was really what drew me to Microsoft to begin with, was the seriousness with which they took it and how they treated people. I think there was a time when, you know, Microsoft had the cool name and you walked around and you had Microsoft on your shirt and people were like, woo, Microsoft. And now Google has that aura. You know, in fact, I flew in yesterday and I had a Google engineering shirt on and I got stopped, you know, 3 times. 3 different times people came up to me. One was a feature request. Right? Hey, I'm a Google Earth user, and could you please put the dates on the satellite photos so I know, you know, when it was taken and which. I'm thinking, oh, you get lots of feature requests when you work for recognizable companies. I think one was a complaint, and one was just, hey, you work for Google, isn't that cool? So I think both companies still have that kind of aura about them, that cool factor. You know, but of course, you know, I have to support the company that I'm currently with. The cloud rules the desktop, right? That sort of thing. So I'm writing a book right now that has nothing to do with testing. It's about basically how to build a career. And it started out as a memoir, kind of a funny memoir, but I'm not famous enough to write a memoir that people would care about. So I had to turn it into lessons. And I found lots of lessons in, you know, trying to think about why I'm successful and how I got where I am and what career choices would have made me more successful or less successful. I'm kind of writing it into a recipe. I don't know when I'll publish it, but I think that's my next step, is going to be just going out on the management and leadership consulting route. Because you know, Google and Microsoft, I've had management training and leadership training in both places, and it's sucked. In both places, it's just been terrible. You know, they bring in these consultants and they've never done anything. How can they teach me how to be successful as a director or a VP when they've never been a director or a VP at a company like Microsoft or Google? And I've always thought that the training needed refreshing. So maybe I'll do that. I'm not so sure. Whatever I do, it will involve a lot of writing, a lot of blogging, a lot of writing, but never a book, never again, no more books. I've sworn off publishing. I finished How Google Tests Software in July and it's still not published. Traditional publishing is as dead as testing is, and so my next one will be an ebook. Did you hear that, Amazon? My next one's going to be an ebook.